Let me get this fixed real quick. Can everybody hear me? New setup. Waiting on Phil. And we are going to be joined by Mr. Rob Christian from Nerd. So, Rob's a good dude. Excited to have him. This is going to be episode 89. Snakes and Stogies. Phil has the link, just waiting on him to get here. So. Give everybody some time to sort of shuffle in. What's new? What's up, Bill? This is the new setup. Pretty pumped about it. A little side table here with my accoutrement, my cigar and ashtray, and coffee, and mic, all that good stuff. What's up, Billy Jenkins? What's up, Dustin? So everybody's doing. I'm gonna smoke a Dunbarton Tobacco Trust Umbagog tonight. Can y'all hear me all right? Is there any issues audio-wise? I did unplug things and move things around today. So. It is a little hard to read some of the comments in here. Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about doing for a while now. There's Phil. Oh.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello.
Sorry I'm late. Technical difficulties.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. You feel like you're very far away, though. No?
Still far away?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not hearing your microphone that's in front of you. I feel like I'm hearing the microphone of the computer.
It might be.
Good evening, everyone. Dustin, Bill, JT, Billy. I'm fashionably late as usual.
How about now?
Oh, now you sound like you're professional.
That's why it was on the default mic, so I just talked for 3 minutes for nothing. This is episode 89 of Snakes and Stogies. Phil is now with us.
Yes.
What are you smoking upon this eve?
This evening, I busted out the Mad Mofo.
Oh.
Long live the king.
Nice.
A gift from the one and only Mr. Justin Smith.
Did I bring you those to Daytona?
You did.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
because I can't get anything Caldwell by me. So
that's right.
Once I decompress, I'm going to light this up. So, yeah, I text Rob the link, but he does not. Excuse me, he does not have Facebook Messenger. So I don't know if he's going to be able to jump in or not in that regard. So we'll give him a few minutes to
send it
jump
to
in.
him on Instagram.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Stand by. Let me do that. Copy. Insta.
Oh, wait, there he is. He's right there.
There he is. Man of the hour.
Let's see, how's the best way to do this? Like
the
this?
man of the hour.
The man of the hour.
Hey, what's up?
Look at that background.
I was trying to figure out where I wanted to record this, and I was like, you know what? I'll maybe down here. We just put in these enclosures, so we've got like this is going to be our new Venomous room.
Who made them?
These are all Reptile Basics enclosures.
Nice.
Got a little king action in the background.
Nice.
Murder, death, and destruction.
Savage. It's actually, it's funny you're doing this because I was actually going to ask you about venomous and Massachusetts laws and all that stuff, but we can get into that later.
Terrible. Sucks. It's the fucking worst.
Okay.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's all banned up here. There's no private ownership for anyone.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. Sucks.
Well, welcome to the show. Oh, look at that hat.
I love this hat, dude. A little copperhead action.
Repping the eco-wear. Love it.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I you know what? I think everyone that's a legit herper has at least one eco-wear.
You gotta have one. You gotta have at least one.
I have two. I have a Cobras. That's the Franklin Mountain Cobras.
Ooh, hell yeah.
And I bought that hat at Daytona in 2004 when or maybe not 4, maybe 2008, maybe. Anyway, EcoWear was at Daytona, and they had like a little tiny table. And I was like, hey, I have that rattlesnake. And the girl that was working the booth, she's like, okay.
She's not a good salesperson. They'd be like, you got to buy that hat. You got the rattlesnake. You got to get the hat.
Exactly. Well, I did buy the hat regardless, but one of my favorite eco-wear hats that I have is actually of a desert bighorn sheep. And I bought that at the visitor center at Zion in Utah. And it was this like program where you donate like, I don't know if it was $50, something like that. But you donate money and you basically sponsor a bighorn. And I never registered the sheep, so like they'll send you like pictures of your sheep and like tell you how little Bessie's doing, you know. But I got the certificate and I got an eco-wear hat, so I thought that was cool.
Hell yeah, that's mint. Yeah, I've got this one, and then I've got a Melosis, the blacktail rattlesnake, because I love those two. Those two are amazing. With the copperheads and then the Melosis are just the best.
Oh, man. So, Justin, what did you have on the agenda this evening?
Us just kicking it, man.
I like it. I love it.
The rules are there ain't no rules.
Yeah, right?
Hey.
I dig it, man.
I'm just trying to play around with this mic stand. Can y'all still hear me even if it's this far away from? Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You're good.
You look like you're lounging, though. You look comfortable.
I am,
you
dude.
Do look,
you
look very comfortable.
This is nice. This is what I've been working on for the better part of the morning and day. Just getting all this set up. I want to change the camera, though, because I don't... It's like I can either have it too close or too far away, but nowhere in between, so...
Yeah.
It's a work in progress, but...
Yeah. I was trying to decide whether I should do in here or we have another room that's got like cool temp species and it's got like planted exoterras in the back with like a couple basins and stuff. I feel like the lights in here are a little strong.
Well, are you using your phone or a laptop?
About phone, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, well, you can, if you feel like changing the motif, feel free.
Yeah, let me just take a look and see what it would be like if I go in that room.
You're just spending the night over there?
I live here, so.
Like literally?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Really? That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's burning the midnight oil if he's hanging out there at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, man, that's nuts. Good for you, though, man. I bet you it's easy to take care of your own collection.
Honestly, it's tougher because you always feel like there's something else to do with other animals, and you got to separate out your own time for your own stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I definitely can see that.
Maybe this is a little bit better in here. I'm gonna have to turn off the AC unit.
It looks cool, man. I love like little behind the scenes of nerd.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this used to be our live streaming room for the beginning of COVID. We had live streams every week, and then now it's become cool temp species. So we got basins, we got gargoyle geckos, we got lychees, we got chihuahuas that have all been breeding in here.
Nice.
What else? Northern emerald. We got abronia over there, some tarantulas, emerald tree skinks, a little bit of everything in here.
Dude, that's awesome. It's a good hodgepodge.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Oh.
How's the audio sound on my end? Because I'm using
fine.
my regular headphones, so
It's good.
That's good.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's a little sketchy.
Yeah, man. I was
Cool.
actually gonna ask. So, like, when you and Jeremy do your podcast, like, do you guys do the same thing that we're doing? Because I only listen to it.
We're going to be doing that for the next couple months. Before when he lived up here, I would just go to his place. He's got a recording studio in his apartment, and he's got like really nice mics. So we would just sit right next to each other and record right there, and just do that. And that was pretty easy. We did a couple remote ones, but we're going to be doing remote ones now for a little bit.
Okay, cool. I had to make sure I was repping the brand.
Hell yeah, keeping it real.
So
Hell yeah.
Well,
I like these ones, man. They're fun.
Yeah. So I know Jake has a ton. We had a handful at Daytona, and before we forget, this show is brought to you by Puget Sound Pythons.
Hell
Right
yeah.
up here in the corner. Please go give them a follow. Facebook, Instagram. They have some YouTube videos that are very much worth checking out. So had to make sure we got them in before we really dove into things. But yeah, we've been trying to get Rob on for a while now. So
Yeah, my schedule's stupid busy. I work at Nerd during the day, and then I work a night job at night. So I hardly ever have 12 hours off in a row.
what's a day in the life of Rob for working at Nerd typically like? What's a Monday at Nerd?
well, can I real quick? Can I just rewind? Because like I feel like our core group of people, they definitely know who you are, but to anyone who's just listening, do you want to like give like a little quick bio, like who Rob is?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Like brief, talk about your podcast, everything else.
Real brief, yeah. So I've been working at Nerd for 4 years, almost 5 years now. I do a little bit of everything at Nerd. I've done sales. I'm on our venomous permit. I work with monitors. I do ball pythons, blood pythons, you name it, I do it. Currently, I'm working with reticulated pythons a lot, and then I do almost all of the shipping for Nerd. So anything that goes out of our building generally gets packaged up by me. Cool packs. We have someone who sets up labels and everything, but actually packing the animals into the boxes and everything, usually that's me doing it. Typically, right now that changes, week to week, but for the last several months, it's mostly been me. And since I did full time at Nerd, I've been doing almost all the shipping for Nerd. I have been volunteering at Nerd since I was 17. I just turned 32, so that's 15 years of when I was a kid and I got my license. I'd come up here a couple times a week and just be like, let me clean stuff, let me learn things, because I didn't realize that Nerd was so close to me when I was a kid. I grew up an hour away from here, so I didn't realize that this big of a place was so close, and there's so many things that you can learn from a big place like this.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been coming here for 15 years, just volunteering my time, which we can't even allow volunteers anymore, but that's neither here nor there.
Because of COVID or something else? Just the rules?
Because of the state basically.
Okay.
So we used to allow people to come here, and if they had a passion for reptiles or animals, or they wanted to learn, or kids who are interested and they just want to get hands-on with animals, we used to let people come here and volunteer, and they could clean ball python enclosures, or help us pick out roaches, or do stuff like that. And then we would get a lot of younger kids who are anywhere from 8 years old to 15 years old that would come, and they just loved animals. So they would come a couple times a week and hang out and grab rodents for customers, or grab roaches or crickets for customers and stuff, or help us clean ball pythons. And then some hoity-toity people showed up and were like, this is child labor, you're forcing these children to work in work conditions. And so they reported us to the labor board showed up. Hey, you can't have people who are not on payroll doing anything here, so we're not allowed to take volunteers anymore, which is a bummer, because I get a lot of kids who just want to hold some snakes and clean some snakes, and can't even do it anymore.
Wow, that's nuts, man.
Yeah.
And then by you, does the high school kids by you, do they have required volunteer hours or no?
Yes, they do. Most of the schools do, but they can't. They couldn't even do it here. They could do it if they get school credits. So if they got actual credits for it, they can do that, and it still has to get approved by the state labor board. And then if it's part of a work training program where they're getting paid, they can do it. Those are the only two exceptions that they've allowed us to have people come here and do volunteer work now.
Wow,
Which is
man. That's crazy.
So it's a pain in the butt. Yeah. Because I literally had a couple kids who would come a couple times a week. And when I told them that they couldn't volunteer anymore, all of them cried. You know, they were just like so heartbroken because for a year they were coming here, you know, once a week with their parents. You know, the parents would come, they'd clean some snakes. They get to work with, you know, how many places you get to go to where you can work with 30 or 40 different species of snakes in one day.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
So, you know, for a lot of those kids, it was such a bummer because they aren't able to do that anymore. Before all of this, I did educational programs with my mom. We had our own business where we did birthday parties, school programs, summer camps, libraries, you name it. We did it, thousands of programs over, I think we did it for like 8-10 years, something like that. So I did educational programs from the time that I was really little until I was an adult. I've been doing programs for almost 20 years now. And that's one of my favorite things to do is just teach people about reptiles. And what else? Me and Jeremy got a podcast called Reptile Talk where we just sit down with reptile people and just talk reptiles. Whatever topic comes up, you know, that's what we talk about. And, you know, Jeremy's goofy, I'm goofy, so we have a good time. We have a lot of fun with it. And, you know, wherever the conversation goes, that's where the conversation goes. We're actually setting it up right now so that we're going to be doing monthly or bi-monthly check-ins with Phil Goss from USARK, so we can have a conglomerate place where people, if they are going, what's USARK doing right now, they can come to Reptile Talk. It's going to be a 30-minute or 40-minute episode where we're just catching up, finding out what the regulations are doing, which states have alerts, which states need help, that sort of stuff. We just talked about doing that with him in Daytona, so we're just scheduling that out right now to be able to do that at least once a month to get something out there for people who are, you know, can't click on the USARK website and read an alert, I guess.
God forbid.
God forbid.
I know. Hey, whatever, man. Whatever's easiest. If that gets them to click, if that gets them to donate, if that gets them to sign up for USARK, I'll do it. I don't care.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I've got a bunch of my own animals that I work with and breed, a variety of different species. I've done a little bit of everything. Like I said, I'm on the venomous permit here for Nerds, so I work with our venomous stuff here.
All right, so let's dive into that. So you said that venomous is completely banned in Massachusetts?
Yeah, all of New England. There's no private ownership of venomous snakes anywhere in New England. So Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. No private ownership of venomous snakes. They will not give permits. Does not matter what you do. There's only like a handful of facilities even that have permits. I know that the Museum of Science in Boston has a permit for venomous snakes so that they can have timber rattlesnakes and copperheads on display just so people can see their native venomous snakes and go, oh, that's what a timber rattlesnake is. I shouldn't kill a milk snake. I shouldn't kill a garter snake. So they've got a couple of venomous snakes on display. Rainforest Reptiles in Beverly, Massachusetts, they've got a permit for venomous reptiles. That's basically just so that when the state confiscates stuff, they have a place to shuffle it all so they don't have to euthanize it. Nerd is the only place in the state of New Hampshire that has a permit for venomous snakes. So our facility serves as that purpose for New Hampshire. If anyone has stuff illegally, it gets confiscated, it comes here to us. That's part of our conditional permit. We have to take in anything that the state collects that's illegal for venomous stuff or for reptiles, basically. There's only 3 people on our permit here at Nerd who are, you know, qualified to work with the venomous snakes. Kevin, the owner of Nerd, Timmy, our venomous guy, and then I just got added to our permit last year. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, I'm on the permit now. So
awesome,
cool. So we're
awesome.
We're the only 3 people permitted in the state of New Hampshire to work with venomous snakes. And then Vermont, I don't think they have any permits out there for any facilities or private ownership. Maine does not have anyone in the state who has venomous perments. I think Connecticut. There's no permits. Yeah, I'm sure there's people, but I don't want to talk about that.
So I feel like a moron. I thought you guys were in Massachusetts. You guys are in New Hampshire.
We're in New Hampshire, but we are like a stone's throw from the Massachusetts border.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad.
Because New Hampshire is actually the only state in New England where you can legally own water monitors without a permit. It's the only state in New England where you can own reticulated pythons without a permit. every other state in New England, both of those species are regulated, and none of those states around us will allow reticulated pythons or anacondas. They're big. Oh my God, they're scary. Oh, so scary.
You know what would happen if anacondas got established in New Hampshire?
Don't talk to people in Maine because they had a situation a couple of years ago where someone saw a big water snake. They said it was an anaconda, and then it made national news.
They'll eat all the local beavers.
Yeah.
And nutria.
Wessie, the Westbrook snake. You'll find all sorts of articles about an anaconda. So basically, someone saw a big water snake. They reported it to the police station. Police station reported it to the news, and it went all over national news. Anaconda or giant snake in Maine, blah, blah, blah. And then a week later, someone definitely planted a skin, but someone planted a anaconda skin along the river in that area. And, we DNA tested it. It's a green anaconda. There's an anaconda in the state of Maine.
Oh, my God. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was living in Maine at the time. And so I was doing interviews being like, hey, look, anacondas do not live up here. If there was, like, it was so suspicious.
It's not
the
Lake
shed,
Placid.
Yeah, the shed was like 10 feet away from the water. And I'm like, okay, what anaconda is going to pick to shed and like go up near a park to shed when they can shed right in the water? Why would they do that? They wouldn't do that. It was all bullshit. It's just crap.
Oh man, that's nuts.
Yeah. So New England's just like, it's crazy for any sort of reptiles. It's just not great as far as regulations go. New Hampshire is like the closest to being okay, but there's no private ownership of venomous snakes. But aside from that, you can own whatever you want in New Hampshire, no permit required. So like even rear fang, you can have false water cobras, you can have boego without permits, you can have toxicodryas, you can have any of that stuff, no permit. But anything that's considered like lethal, so like boom slangs and up, that stuff is illegal.
Telatornis.
Yeah.
It's that damn Tom Brady, man. That's why Florida's now getting squirrely, because he's made his way down there.
I don't follow any sports stuff. I've heard his name before, but I don't know anything about him.
Yay, team sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, go sports ball.
Go sports ball. Oh man, we are nerds. It's great.
Yeah.
Huh. So what are you personally keeping now? I know you got a handful of bloods and stuff, right?
Yeah, I keep mostly blood pythons, Borneo short-tailed pythons, and scrub pythons are my jam. I've got a few other odds and ends. I just got some corn snakes recently. Like, this is my first time in my life personally keeping corn snakes. I was never a corn snake guy. Like, when I was growing up and like even into my 20s, I was like, corn snakes, get them out of here. These are junk. Don't bring them near me. I was like, only Southeast Asian pythons. That's it. I don't even want to look at corn snakes. And then like maybe 2 years ago, I was looking at some okatees, and I was like, man, these things are freaking cool. Just the contrast of the black with the orange and the red. I was like, man, these things are awesome. So I ended up getting some okatee corn snakes, and I got 5 of them now. I think they're pretty neat.
They any particular line or?
I got some Abbott line animals, which we were staring at Lee Abbott's table in Daytona, and I'm like, man, I need more of that, because those are amazing. That's my jam. So as soon as I get a little bit more space, I'm going to get some from him, because of those ones I was staring at Daytona. I was like, man, I need some of those.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff at his table, man, that I wanted. Those coral snows were just unbelievable.
Dude,
and I think I have 1 or 2 love line animals.
Yeah. That Sharpie marker black outline, man, just does it.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. That is where it's at. And I really want to get a palmetto corn snake, just because it's like a cow retic, but shrunk down into a package that's not going to break your back.
I never thought of them like that, but
100%.
It's pretty good.
So when we were up in Daytona and like seeing you and seeing Jeremy and stuff, and like I don't remember who I was talking to, but it may have been Billy Hunt. We were just talking about like back in the day, like 2004, 2005, right? When Nerd had essentially an entire row at Daytona. And it was just like major. It was just, I just vividly remember all the crazy retic morphs that had just come out. Like platinum just became a thing, you know? And like
Golden Child Platinums.
Exactly, dude,
Albino
crazy.
Tigers.
And I remember there was an entire table, so an entire 8-foot table of just designer and morph tokeis.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, you
guys used to be heavy into tokeis.
Dude, you guys had the coolest shit.
We still have a lot.
Do.
Yeah, we still have a lot. Not as much as we used to. The issue with tokay geckos is that where they come from, they naturally carry crypto. And so it's just like you just have to deal with it when you're dealing with any sort of tokeis that get imported. And so that can really swing your collection one way or the other if one little thing goes wrong. So we used to have a huge variety of different morphs. We're more focused now. We've got a bunch of different albinos. We've actually been hatching out a ton of albinos recently. The thing, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I haven't seen pictures of Lilith, she must be dead. I haven't seen the picture of this thing, it must be dead. And it's like, we have so many different projects here that I don't have. Like, I do a lot of the social media stuff. I don't have enough time to post everything, man. Like, we have so many cool things going on. Every time I see something, I'm like, oh, I should take a picture of that. And then I'm like, I got to go clean this thing. I'm doing an educational program. I got to do this. So, like, we've hatched out a ton of albino tokeis recently. Or I shouldn't say a ton, but like a decent amount of albino tokeis recently. And we get people who hit us up on a monthly basis asking us when we're going to have tokeis available. And we're just trying to make sure that we got a good, steady stock of captive bred stuff that we hatched out so we don't have to rely on any of the stuff that was imported. Even though a lot of our import stuff has been with us for 3, 5, 7 years now, a lot of it is really well established. Just to have that backup of captive bred stuff that we hatched out here, that we raised up, is super important. So we've kind of been slowing down on posting the tokay geckos because when we post an albino tokay gecko, we get 100, 150 inquiries like the same day of people who are like, I want to buy it right now, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we have to tell 150 people, hey, it's not for sale right now. We'll have some maybe next year available. And so it's easier to just not post it. And then when we're ready to sell them, then we'll post them. And then that way we can just be like, here, you want it, get it. There's no waiting. There's no, we'll take down your number. We'll take down your email address. Cause we got a wait list of like live animal requests. It's like hundreds of animals, like literally hundreds of animals.
So then the ones that you're saying, like when they naturally have crypto, is that part of their normal GI or is it once you have a captive bred baby, it doesn't have it? Generally the captive bred babies haven't shown it. But the thing with tokay geckos is that when you're breeding them, you typically want to breed them in cohesive family units. So when the female starts laying eggs, they build like a family unit. So you'll usually have like one male to several females and inside of an enclosure. And once they are established and like kind of sort out their ranks and everything, they'll start laying eggs, and then the family will protect those eggs. And as the babies hatch out, the babies live with the family. If you start to pull babies out of tokay enclosures right as soon as they're born, the females start to decide that it's not a safe place to lay their eggs, and generally they'll stop laying eggs. And so they will feel like they're not in a safe place, so they'll just stop laying. So what we've done is we've stopped pulling babies until they're like, 4, 5, 6 inches, but then they've been around the wild caught ones. So we're trying to figure out a system now where we can maybe pull one baby when they've got 5 or 6 of them in there and see if we can raise the baby, like 1 or 2 babies separate so that they don't have to be associated with it. Also, we've made huge modifications to our enclosures. Kevin designed these enclosures that we have the tokay geckos in. Animal Plastics built them. They've got a drainage plug in the back of the enclosure. It's got a slanted bottom so that you can spray down the walls and spray out the bottom, so everything goes down the drain, so there's no poop stuck on the walls or along the bottom or anything. So it helps cut down on that exposure to crypto and stuff like that. So it's just there's so many layers to it. And when you are just thinking about, like, if you're just breeding a pair of tokay geckos, you generally don't have to worry about that sort of stuff because you can monitor for stress and watch them really closely and all that sort of stuff. When you've got 50 adult breeder tokay geckos and somebody doesn't get along with this one, or this one's stressing out this one, it's tougher to get everything dialed in and on top of all the other things we got going on. Let me ask you this: is there any cannibalisticness with like dads eating babies and stuff, or no?
Nope. I mean,
That's awesome.
I shouldn't say no, because I personally know people who have raised them or bred them in pairs, and the dad will eat the eggs or the female will eat the eggs. Once the babies come out, generally they don't go after them. You have to make sure that you got different prey items. So you got smaller prey items for the babies and bigger prey items for the adults. But once the babies hatch out, we generally don't see any issues with cannibalism, because it is literally like a cohesive family unit. They all hang out under the same areas. You look underneath the cork that we screw cork to the sides. You peek underneath the cork, you see 10 tokay geckos hanging, all different sizes, from babies all the way up to adults, all hanging out in the same spot.
That's awesome.
Mike Toth did an article in the magazine many issues ago, and he said a very similar thing with like maternal care and them doing well in small groups, and he does the same thing, I believe, of just letting mom handle babies and eggs.
You kind of got to,
leave them alone. Yeah.
Do you guys still have any of the powder blues?
Oh yeah, we got tons of powder blues. Yeah, we're actually breeding the powder blues into the albinos right now. We've produced a bunch of the albinos. We actually have 2 or 3 strains of albino. We've got like this really high contrast teen-egg albino that's like white with big orange spots on it. We've got caramel albinos that are a little bit more like toffee colored, and then we've got a different like hypo caramel albino that's like lighter colored and it almost looks like the teen-egg albino. So we've got a couple different ones. It's just finding the right pairings to go, because like, man, it's a tough process when you've got 4 or 5 females with 1 male, and then finding the hets. And these animals we think these 2 albinos are the same. We put them together. There's no visuals in the babies. It's all double het stuff. And it's been a long road of figuring all that sort of stuff out. And, it just takes time is what it is. It just takes time. But we're breeding powder blues. We're breeding teen-egg albinos, T-pause albinos, and some other type of albino as well.
That's super cool, man. Super cool.
Yep.
Our buddy Alan Stevens asked if the that crypto is transmittable to other species, like if that's the same crypto that can jump into colubrids and wreak havoc.
Yeah. I believe so. I personally, since we found this out 10 years ago, we're super duper careful with the tokays. We only do them at the end of the day. We bleach before and after. We've got like heavy duty bleach sinks that are like scald your eyes bleach. So we like do dips with those before and after. Wash your hands with soap and water afterwards, antibacterial, hand sanitizer, the whole 9. We don't want to risk any of that sort of stuff going from any of our tokays to any of the other stuff. And crypto,
that would be bad.
Yeah. So we're real careful about it. As far as I know, most of the cryptos are able to be passed from species to species.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't even risk it. Like we usually do all that sort of stuff at the end of the day. They got their own section of enclosures. It's only tokay geckos in those enclosures. When we're feeding them, we have special, feeding cups and all this sort of stuff that is just for their enclosures. So we don't mix anything and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to be as concise as we can about it.
I mean, frankly, crypto, I'm much more worried about crypto than I am like Nido and stuff. Like crypto is serious, man.
Crypto is serious business. Yeah. And then the other thing I see, like, I don't see here, but I see that worries me online. I see people post pictures of like their boas in the same enclosure with pythons and stuff. And I'm like, inclusion body disease. What are you guys doing? Oh my freaking God. Is nobody worried about this? We literally had a customer who bought a used enclosure from somebody, and they put their ball python in it. Like they just like wiped it down with like water or whatever, and then put substrate in it, put their ball python in it. And they're like, my ball python is dying. I don't know what the hell is the issue. Like it is flipping over on its back.
Jesus.
And it's not a spider. It was like a lesser ball python. And they're like, it's flipping over on its back. It can't right itself. It's losing tons of weight. I was like, that's IBD. That's IBD all day. Like, and there's nothing you can really do about it at that point. Like you just pretty much have to humanely euthanize it at that point. And they were like, how come I didn't know about this? And it's like, well, I mean, if you're not in the groups who talk about this sort of stuff, you probably wouldn't have known about it.
I couldn't even tell you how common IBD is anymore with anything, because I really don't see, I know that used to be a pretty big concern, back in the day, but now it doesn't seem like it's as prevalent as it once was. But
well, I think it also comes down to the big box stores are either more educated or their staff is more educated, and they're not putting the baby BCI with the baby ball python because, oh, they're cute and they don't mind living together. They're fine. It's like, no, they can do that. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, it's just a matter of, how, you can do all the research in the world. There's still things we don't know. Like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what did people know about nidovirus? Right now, what do most people know about nidovirus? Like hardly anything, man. It's crazy. So like, I don't know. I see people, people talk about like crypto with like, I see people talk about crypto with like leopard geckos and like, tokay geckos and stuff like that a lot. But not as much with other species. So like if you just keep snakes, or you're not interested in other stuff, you might not even know about crypto. So it's just, it is what it is.
Billy, if you hit up Dr. Loafman, we also had an episode with him on THP. It's been a while now, but if you go back to the episodes, we had an episode with him on crypto, but I do want to definitely hit him up about possibly an article or something that sort of explains it in more detail, because it's not a virus.
Yeah,
it's a bacteria, I believe. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
So
we're definitely due for part 2 on that.
I feel like every time we have Loftman on, man, there's just so much stuff we want to talk about that we end up not even getting to like the main thing we wanted to even discuss.
Yeah.
Because he does so much cool stuff and he knows so much about so many different things that we never seem to tackle what we were intending to have him on for in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to find the episode right now. I'm scrolling through.
Because I think it was with you and me, wasn't it?
It was with you and me, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. So, yeah, crypto sucks, man. That stuff's no joke. It spreads. Lopen actually brought up a really good point as far as vectors for it. Fruit flies. So if you got a pretty serious fruit fly problem, definitely get some apple cider vinegar traps set up, with a little cup and some Dawn. And then you take a Ziploc bag and cut a little hole in it, make a cone that goes into the center. That seems to do really well at catching them and trapping them. So,
yeah.
Yeah. If you want to go a little more advanced, they have the fly catchies. It's like a little UV light fan thing that you just plug in when the lights are out, and it has a little UV light. The fruit flies fly into it. The fan sucks them down, and it basically collects them all in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I always did the apple cider vinegar thing just because I always have that stuff, around.
Super easy.
Yeah.
So the episode, I'm on my Apple podcast app. It doesn't, I guess for whatever reason, it doesn't say what episode it is, but it was December 12th of 2020. So anybody who's looking.
Okay, that wasn't that far along.
Yeah. Crypto and More with Dr. Saf Loveman, and it's December 12th, 2020. And that's going to be. Yeah, it doesn't say, because I guess at that time it was when you switched over and you added Snakes and Stogies to.
Mm-hmm. So
only the Snakes and Stogies episodes are listed, number wise.
Let's see.
But yeah, it's December 12th, 2020. So, and Billy Jenkins is dying to talk carpets, so we probably should just dive right into that.
You want to talk carpets? Let's talk carpets. I don't have a ton of carpets, but I like carpets a little bit, I guess.
So the ones you show on your personal Instagram account, are those yours or are they nerds?
Yeah, I don't really post. The only things I post that's nerds, like nerd animals on my personal account, is like the caiman. I'll post those, and then the venomous stuff. Those are the only things I post that are nerd animals on my account. And if I post anything that's nerds on my account, I write right in the description, this is a nerd animal, this is from nerd, this is nerds. Everything else that you see on my personal account is all my own personal stock animals.
Awesome.
So like all the Borneos, all the carpet pythons, all the scrub pythons, all that stuff's all mine.
So
it was episode 105.
Okay.
There you go.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
So what do you got carpet wise now? Like lines, localities?
I don't have a ton of carpet pythons. Like carpet pythons are not super duper my thing. Like I like some carpet pythons, but the scrubs just like draw me way more than the carpets do. So like I never got super into carpet pythons. I've got like 6 carpet pythons or something like that. I've got a ocelot jungle jag female that I produced with Jason Chapman up in Maine. That thing's like 92 point whatever % jungle. It's one that we bred its mother and its grandmother at the shop that I was working at there. I was managing there. So I got her and I raised her up. She's 6 years old now. I've never bred her before. I grew her really slow because I'm like, she's not big enough to breed yet. And then I was like, I wonder how old she is. Oh crap. She's like 4.5, she's like 5 years old right now. And I'm like, I never even tried to breed her. So I've got her. I've got a male jungle that came from one of my friends in New Jersey, which I'm planning on breeding him to the Ocelot jungle jag. So I didn't really care all that much about lineage. The most important thing for me was black. I want really, really black carpet pythons. So I picked out a male that has lots of black on him, and I'm looking for maybe a couple more. I just picked up a female. I haven't even got her in yet. A female jungle from Scott Borden, because he's got stuff that's got really nice dark black tones to it.
Contrast.
Hell yeah. And then I just picked up a female from Trace Harden because he has one specific group that's got really nice black on them. Like yellow's cool and everything, but there's this guy in Australia who's just breeding for like abyss black bands on his jungles. And I look at those and I'm like, damn, those things blow out every single one of the bright yellow carpets. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. But these ones that have got these like black bands on them, I'm like, oh, those things get my heart every time. So I'm looking at a lot of the people who are breeding carpet pythons right now in the US, and I don't see people who are trying to breed towards a black jungle, or like maybe there's a couple people. I don't know. I'm not super plugged into the carpet python people. But I don't see people doing that. So I want to make a really black jungle carpet python. So I just been snagging a couple things here and there to make a really black carpet python.
Yeah,
a black
jungle. We talked about that at Daytona when you were at Tracy's table looking at them. You were like, everyone's focused on yellows and jungles forever.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's really focused on getting more black and wider black bands. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude,
so that's my little project with that.
I'm stealing that line, by the way. Abyss black.
Yes, it's just like so dark, and you look at it, and it's just like, it's right there. I love that. It's so cool. Like everyone gets all geeked out about Boland's pythons, and I'm like, but look at this black carpet python.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
So I've got the two female 2020 jungles that I'm raising up. I got that male that I picked up from my buddy. I got the Ocelot jungle jag. So those are my jungles. That's all I've got for jungles. I've got a female West Papuan carpet python that I picked up from a friend in Maine. He got it at the Hamburg Expo in Pennsylvania. He's like, I bought it from a breeder there. Like, I don't have any of her information. And I was like, you know what? This is the coolest looking IJ that I've seen. And it reminds me of the old Spitfire, the old Yasser stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like these like not burgundy, but like, what's the word? Like chestnut to burnt orange bands nice at the bottom.
Maroonish. Yeah.
Mahogany.
Yeah. Mahogany, that's my word right there. So she's got these nice mahogany bands on her, and I got her when she was little. I didn't really intend on like really breeding her or doing it. I just thought she was really cool looking, so I bought her when she was little, and I've had her for 5 or 6 years now. And I bred her last season to a West Papuan male that Nerd had here that we ended up selling. So I produced a clutch of West Papuans last year, and I kept back 4 babies. I did a little experiment with the clutch too, where you do a little bit of the gecko stuff. Do you dabble at all with like leopard geckos or crested geckos or anything? No. Have you ever bred any of those?
I bred cresteds years ago.
Okay.
It doesn't have a lot of cresteds.
There's a thing with leopard geckos and with crested geckos where a lot of the breeders who breed them, or a lot of people who breed them, they keep them at a steady temperature through the majority of the incubation, and then through the last 2 weeks of the incubation, they crank up the temperature 3-4 degrees, and it generally creates a higher intensity coloration on the animals when they hatch out. So you can literally take a leopard gecko clutch, incubate them at the same temperature throughout the entire incubation process. Last 2 weeks, take 1 egg, pop it over here. Same genetics, you know, the same exact genetics, you know, breed a bell albino to a bell albino, you know, take one egg, move it into a hot incubator for the last 2 weeks, leave the other one in the cool incubator for the 2 weeks. And you can do this with several clutches and just take it every single time. The baby that you put in that warmer incubator for the last 2 weeks, the color is going to smoke the color on the other one every single time.
I've heard of that with leopards. I haven't heard of that with cresteds.
Yep.
But
yeah, I've seen people do it with cresteds too. So I was asking around last year, and I was like, "Who's doing this with snakes? Has anyone tried this with snakes at all?" And all snake people are like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, this doesn't make that's stupid. That's stupid." So last year I did an experiment with the West Papuan carpets. I did it with blood pythons, and I did it with Borneo short-tailed pythons, where each of them approximately 2 weeks, between 14 and 10 days before they were due to hatch, I took half the eggs, put them in a hotter incubator closer to 90 degrees, where I was incubating most of them at like 86 throughout most of the incubation process. And so I took half of the eggs from each of those 3 clutches, moved half the clutch into a hot incubator, half the clutch into the control incubator, and then hatched out, you know, a whole bunch of babies. And for the West Papuans, I kept back 4 babies, a male and female from the cool group, a male and female from the warm group. The Borneos, I kept back, I think I kept back 3 babies from that experimental group, 1 from the cool group or 2 from the cool group and 1 from the other. I can't remember, one way or the other. But I kept 1 from each group and 1 from the other group, so I could watch them as they grow for the first year or 2 years to see if there's any change in coloration or patterning or whatever, stuff like that.
So out of the egg, though, there was really no visual difference?
The West Papuans, no, I didn't see any difference at all. They looked identical. And the messed up thing was that the ones that were kept in the cool incubator at the same temperature, they hatched before the ones that I put in the warm incubator. So I don't know what the heck happened there. I literally don't understand how that works.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question is, you know, with the snakes, did they hatch sooner because they were hotter?
Nope. No, they actually took longer. I actually ended up pipping them because I was worried that they were like moving around in the egg and broke their egg tooth or whatever. I pipped them and they were all perfectly fine. The babies came out. They all looked pretty much identical. As they're growing, though, the cool group looks a little bit different than the warm group, just like slightly different. But they're only a year old right now, so you know they don't really get their full color until they're 2 or whatever. So we'll see in another year. I haven't those 4 I've held on to. I gave 1 to one of my buddies locally, one of the guys who works at the shop. He was like, I kind of want to get a carp python, but I don't know if I want to buy one. I was like, here, raise this. Let me know how it looks in a year. Just let me know how it looks. I want to see how it looks in another year. And then the Borneos, right out of the egg, like you can look at them and go, wow, that one looks really different than that one. The coloration is brighter on this one and more muted on this one. And as they're growing, the same, you can tell. And I put up videos on my YouTube, like my personal YouTube channel, just like documenting when I hatched them out, like looking at every single baby from the clutch, looking at the cool group, looking at the warm group, trying to see what the differences are. And then I did an update maybe 6 or 8 months later after they'd had a couple sheds each. And, you know, just looking at each group and seeing how they change and how they differ and stuff like that. Because, you know, why not? Why not? If we find out that it makes your jungle carpets 10 times brighter, why not do it, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of things. You know, I was talking to people in a couple different groups, and they said that naturally the eggs bump up in temperature for the last 2 weeks of incubation anyway, or the last like 10 days of incubation. So, you know, who's to say that those eggs didn't do that naturally? That's just how they do it, or, you know, whatever. I didn't have any babies die. I didn't have any weird, you know, abnormalities, kinks, or anything like that come out. So no harm, no foul. And if it did produce a bunch of kinks or a bunch of messed up animals, I'd rather I do it on some clutches that I'm like, now we know. I don't know. You don't have to try. And so I like to look at a lot of different aspects of the hobby, because you can take little things from everywhere that you learn and apply it to the different things that you're doing. Absolutely. So when I was listening to a gecko thing and talking to a couple gecko people, and they were like, oh yeah, you take like a leopard gecko, you can take, you know, 2 bell albinos, breed them together and take 1 egg and put it in a warm incubator for the last 2 weeks incubation. And every single time that one that was kept in the warm incubator is going to smoke the one that was kept in the cool incubator. And as you're breeding them, you're making better and better and better offspring as you're doing this. And it's just like, why aren't people trying this with snakes? Why aren't people doing this? And it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But why not try,
Well, see, like I never thought about it in that regard, because I didn't know about that, but I've always wanted to know about someone who has a python, like let's say, your IJs, right? And they let the mom go MI, but how there's always like those 1 or 2 eggs on top.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to know, like, if somebody just took 1 or 2 of those eggs off top and incubated them, and then see if they look different.
Any difference?
Because
I'm curious
because her temp's going to go up and down, whilst the incubator is just staying the same.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing that I'm really curious about is because naturally in the wild there's no python that's sitting there going, okay, 86 degrees, 86 degrees, 86 degrees, 87 degrees.
Yeah,
86.4. No, not okay. This is it. And then people who are incubating their eggs, they're losing their shit because it went 1 degree up and they're like, that's it, my season's over, all the eggs are dead, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, look at the natural temperature fluctuations of nature. Like, literally look at the natural temperature fluctuations of nature. It happens. It freaking happens, man. One of the things that I've been on recently, just over the last year or so, is looking at temperatures of wild reptiles. As I'm going field herping, I'm bringing a temp gun with me and temp gunning the actual animal, the spot where it's hanging out at, and then the area around it to see what the different temperatures are like. Because, people get in Facebook groups and, you can't make a bearded dragon's basking spot 130 degrees. The Death Valley doesn't even get that hot, blah, 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 and all this bullshit. But I went out looking for native snakes recently in Massachusetts, some of our native venomous snakes, and I brought my temp gun with me, and it was a hot day. It was like 90 degrees out. And I found some snakes, so I temp gun the snakes. Their body's sitting at like 86 degrees. They're all hiding. So in the cool areas where they're hiding in the shade underneath the rocks and stuff. Microclimate is sitting at like 85 to 88 degrees in there. Right outside. So like the snake's here underneath this rock. In the sun right here, right next to where they're hiding. 123 degrees on the rocks in Massachusetts.
Yep.
And people are sitting here going, you can't give them a hot bath. It's gonna kill. And it's like, yeah, don't put 150 watt halogen on a 10-gallon tank. But these animals are not sitting there going, okay, it's 82 degrees all the time. We never change temperature. And then that night it dropped down to like 70 degrees, 60 degrees or something. So you got to figure that they're moving around and trucking around when it's 70 degrees out there. And the fact that people get so caught up on like, I read on the care sheet that it was this temperature and they need to be kept at this, and people get too caught up in, we're keeping this thing at exactly, I read it on this and this person did it this way. And it's like, dude, they're animals. They live out in the wild.
I'm gonna play my usual chondro card, because that's a big thing with chondros, and that's why I like Julander and Phillips' book so much, because they were like, look, 86 is probably a little warm. Like for babies it works, but I have adults that stay in the upper 70s, low 80s, not even adults. They're like 2 years old, whatever, and they do fine. Like I could keep them at room temperature and they do fine. They eat fine, they function fine. Like it's just things get babied to death,
Yeah. When we were in West Texas with the NPR boys.
Oh my god, dude!
Eric Burke brought he brought the temp gun. He brought the solar UV reader, and he brought an ambient temp reader, because I didn't realize this, but like, I always had the temp gun with the laser pointer, right? And you shoot the snake, right? You shoot the snake. You shoot this. What I would do is I would just kind of like point it up in the air, and like assume that it would
hit the wall.
It's cloud.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my whole thing.
It hit the sun.
And Burke showed me, he's like, no, man, look at the difference. And like, we did that. We shot the cloud, so to speak, and it was like, 99 degrees. And then you do the ambient thing, and it's like 115.
Is that like index? Like heat
index? No, that was it was reading the ambient air, the ambient air temperature. Yeah.
Well, I'd say index because I wasn't sure if that's like if the humidity affecting those, like the heat index, if that's what it's reading, and
yeah, but
and
dude,
not
we
just
didn't.
the temperature, like the humidity would have an effect on that to an degree.
Yeah, I don't think Burke brought a hygrometer with him just because it was West Texas and we assumed it would be 0. You know.
It was pretty close to it. It felt like.
Yeah, I think next time I may just bring like a little one of those do those Exoterra stick on with the probe hygrometers. They work so damn well. They have like a little
a Govee unit.
Yeah, or even that. Yeah, and just bring that and just like leave it like in your hand while you're walking around.
Yeah, hang it on your hook and just carry it around.
Yeah,
with the string.
Yep.
That way, it's not Those little Govee things are awesome, man. Like the sensor push Govees, like those things are worth their weight in gold. I got a handful of them at one point and just put them in different cages, different parts of the cage with some of the chondros and stuff. And to be able to just look at it on your phone and monitor it, and then to be able to move it to somewhere else and monitor it and see the changes on the graph and everything over time is just, for the $30 that they cost, or not even, they're fantastic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
that's where it's at, man. Just little things, little tweaks, little things. The more that we learn, the better we can do. It's all it boils down to. I just think that as we go, we're gonna find out that like you're saying, people just baby stuff to death, and I do a lot of my bloods and short tails at like 80 degrees, and people are like, but you got to keep them at 90 blah 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 hot spot, and I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've been breeding them.
Yeah, we just talked to Christian Elmer about those on Thursday, and he keeps his in that like low 80s, and he's like, they do fine. They do great. Those get compared to chondros a lot too in terms of like care and stuff. Obviously they're not arboreal, but like in terms of temperatures and stuff, they're actually very similar. Like they seem to operate better at lower temperatures than they do higher ones.
Way better. And a lot of the old care sheets used to tell people like 90 degrees and 100% humidity. They live in a swamp, blah, blah, blah. And, as soon as I started keeping them, I was like, how about we do it cooler? Let's just try it. And all my animals were like much happier. I used to do YouTube videos back in the day, and I used to do blood python videos because I was like, man, nobody posts videos about blood pythons. These things are so cool. Like, I just want information out there about how you handle them and how you work with them and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I would get people constantly who are like, I bought a blood python. It's angry. It bites the heck out of me. It musks me. It pisses everywhere. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's just a psychopath. I'm like, what's your temperatures? First question, what's your temperatures? Oh, I got it like 88 to 92. I'm like, first thing drop it down to 80 degrees. Do that for a week. Come back and tell me how it goes. Don't change anything else. Just change the temperature.
I don't know about y'all, but when I'm sweating and hot, I get pretty irritated.
I'm irritated. Yeah, don't touch me. Don't touch me. What are you doing?
That's how I was in the garage this morning doing all this. I was sweating like crazy, and Katie came in telling me I need to clear some tubs and stuff out, and I was like, just go. It's hot. I'm sweaty, and I don't feel like dealing with it.
Yeah, and dude, 99% of the time, people come back a week later. Oh my God, it's a complete 180. The thing lets me pick it up. It's so chill. It's great now. And I'm like, yep. Don't cook it, and it'll be happy. I know they look like a sausage, but they are not a sausage. Don't cook them.
I've come to find, though, it seems like as time goes on, there's the number of species that are truly considered like delicate seems to get smaller and smaller. There's a lot of species that we don't give enough credit as far as being tougher than people think they are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that came from people saying that they're tough was people trying to keep them like ball pythons. Like, people talk about sunbeam snakes, like, oh my God, sunbeam snakes are so incredibly tough. And it's like, yeah, if you keep them like a ball python, they're tough because they just shrivel up and die. That's not how they live. That's not how they live. If you keep them like a sunbeam snake, they do great. You keep them really cool, nice and moss, leaf litter, and you feed them once a week, once every 10 days. They do great. They do amazing. They're not hard to keep. If you keep them like a ball python, you keep them at 90 degrees on newspaper, they die. They don't like that. Surprise, they don't like that.
I learned that with the Gonyosoma, with the Jansen eye. Like, I went into those thinking those were going to be really challenging and tough, and they're actually really easy to work with. Like, as far as keeping them and stuff, they do fine. You just gotta give them a ton of cover and not expect to see them much, and they're going to do flawless. Like the more I don't see them, the more comforted I am that they're doing fine. Like they're one of those species where if you literally just ignore them, they do great.
Yeah, we got dragon snakes here a couple years ago, and when we got them in, I was like, "No, this is terrible! Like, why do we do this? This is horrible!" And then
Damn it.
I went down this like crazy rabbit hole where I was like researching and reaching out to people and talking to people and like just looking at different areas where they were found and all this different stuff. And we got 6 of them in. One of them came in like really dehydrated, and that thing died like maybe 2-3 weeks later. Like there was nothing we could have done to save that thing. The other 5 that we got did awesome. Like we kept them like a dragon snake, and they did great. We had them for a couple months. We sold all of them, and they did amazing. Like if you feed them the things that they want to eat and you keep them like a dragon snake, they do great, and they're not that difficult. They're super overrated, but they do great.
Oh no, don't worry. I'll get it to you, rodents. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know those people. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. That's like I had somebody call the shop last week, and they were like, "Hey, so like I hatched out some baby blood pythons, and like they're this gram weight to this gram weight. Is that normal?" And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, "Okay, well like I'm feeding them rats that are like this gram weight area. Is that like okay?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
are they eating
know
them and keeping them down?
And they were like, "Well, can you get somebody who breeds blood pythons to help me out?" And I was like, "I've been breeding blood pythons for 10 years, but I don't know how much they weigh. Like, I have not gone out of my way to weigh the rats that I'm feeding to my baby snakes. I give them something. I'm like, they can eat that. And I throw it in there and they eat it, like, or they don't eat it. And then I go, okay, that one was a little too big. I'll give them something a little bit smaller. And I don't know. The person was so offended too. They were like, "Can you get me somebody who knows things about blood pythons?" And I was like, well, if you talk to anybody else in the building, they're going to give you to me because I'm one of the only people in the building who consistently bred blood pythons. Besides, Kevin used to breed them back in the day. I mean, I'm the guy who does all the blood python breeding. So if you want to ask questions, you can ask them to me, but I don't know the gram weight of the rat that you're feeding your baby blood. Sorry, I just don't know that information. I've never once in my life weighed a feeder item ever for anything.
Yeah,
well,
I haven't.
What's funny is like I look at the online rodent sales, right? And it says like, rat pup, X amount of grams, rat fuzzy, X amount of grams. Like I understand they're shipping it. They're trying to show you how much it weighs to give an idea for someone who may have never bought a quote unquote small rat.
Yeah, it's all for context.
Right. And I get that. But what I found myself doing was comparing it to like the size of a gecko. So I'm like, well, I know my gecko is about 28 grams. So I imagine that the rat pup is that's about the same size. So if you don't have that reference,
yeah,
what the
that doesn't do you a whole lot of good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
What fucking good does it do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, 40 grams of sand is not the same size as a rat crawler. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. So we get so many crazy phone calls here, man. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy. Some people just want to just talk to you just because they're lonely or whatever, but we get so many crazy phone calls. At least 3 to 6 times a week we get people who call and they're like, "Hey, do you guys like export to the United States?" And I'm like,
that's awesome.
We do, from New England.
Yeah, we're going to have to charge you $500 to ship it, though, if we're going to be exporting to the United States from New England. So
I get, because I work retail sales normally, and I get the phone call where it's like, "Hi, I need to speak to the owner of the business," and like I'll vet as much as I can,
Yeah.
And it's like go through hoops. It's like, no, I need to speak to him. He told me X, Y, and Z. I need to speak to this individual. Okay, you know what? Fine, sir, I'll get it. And my boss picks up the phone. He goes, "Hey, how's it going?" He goes, "Hey, you guys are open tomorrow from 10 to 6, right?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my God. Yeah, we get the people who they call us and they're like, "Hey, what's your address?" And I'm like, "How did you get our phone number? Did you Google our number and then skip over the address below it to call us? Is that what you just did right now?" Oh my goodness. It's crazy. Crazy.
So Brandon Valentine wants to hear about scrubs, and I'm with him 100%.
We waited too long to talk about scrubs. What are you talking about? We should have been talking about scrubs this whole time.
Well, now that I officially, so I always have loved scrubs, and I've had I had Moluccans, and when I worked underground, I worked for Strictly, like we had Barnacks and whatever else, but I never owned them personally because like I always could play with someone else's. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I got kicked off of the restricted license. They're like, yeah, you can't do it anymore. So now that I can't have them, now of course I want them.
Yep.
Of course.
So tell me all about it, bro. What are you keeping? What are you working with?
So I've got a not a giant group of scrubs. Honestly, I'd prefer not to have a whole room full of scrub pythons, just because then you can't spend individual time with them. And I feel like if you want to not just constantly be bleeding, you need to spend time with them. But I've got Barnecks, I've got Sarong Barnecks, and I've got a Jayapura Barneck. I've got a few southern scrub pythons. I got a Halmahera. I've got a Highland scrub python, the Oxabil, the bright gold ones with the orange bars on it.
Yeah.
I got one of those. I don't have any Moluccans. I wish, but I'm letting people who've got them do their thing, because I don't want to rush and get them when there's other people who could potentially be breeding them and making more of them. I'd rather wait and get some down the road when they're a little bit more available. So I'm waiting on the Moluccans, but I really love the Barnecks. Barnecks are probably my favorite. I've got a tattoo of Barneck right there.
Nice. All right, so then let me ask you this then, since we got you on the show. We were talking in Daytona about what is a quote-unquote barnack. And some of my friends were explaining that it's a barred neck, which translates to barnet. So it's not a locality. It's just a
like
look.
a phenotype kind of.
It's like a phenotype?
Yeah, so it's a phenotype, but it's kind of a loose phenotype, because a lot of the animals that used to be classified as Wamina, which are now coming in labeled as Jayapura, they've got a heavy patterning to them, and a lot of them have patterning along the neck. And for some reason, over the last year or two, people have been marketing them as Barnecks, where I do not look at them as Barnecks, because if you look at like a Sarong Barneck or a Jayapura, like an actual Jayapura Barneck, or Manokwari or things like that, they've got reduced pattern, or if they've got pattern like the Sarongs, they have a very distinct, thick, black bar, or usually three bars along the back part of the muscles of the head at the back. And they got one there, and then probably two, and then three right at the back of that neck. The bars don't always continue down the rest of the animal, but they always have those three distinct bars right at the back of the neck right there. That's generally what I consider Barnecks, but there's been a lot of hubbub in the scrub community about, locality stuff is just, it doesn't matter anymore, and all this, that, and the other thing. So
it's very similar to the chondros, where just because it came in as a sarong, that's just because it shipped out of whatever airport they were calling sarong.
Yeah, I mean, the sarongs are one of the few ones that have like a very, I'll say a very distinct look.
Yeah.
They are typically the most heavily patterned Barnecks. They typically are the biggest Barnecks. They have got a much more distinct look than the Manakwaris or the Jayapuras or some of the other smaller localities of Barnecks. And so the sarongs, you can, like, if I look at a scrub, the sarongs I can usually pick out. They've got spots down the sides almost always. They've got thick bars down the back of the neck, and then they usually have thick banding all the way down until the last third of their body.
A little darker too.
Yeah. And then the Jayapuras tend to be a little bit lighter gold, a little bit more reduced pattern. I hope I'm not messing up that other locale, the Manokwari. I think it's Manokwari. But they are a little bit more reduced. Some of the, like, the sarongs are distinct. All the other Barneck types look very similar to me, and it's just tough. It's tough without any sort of like data or anything like that to back it up about which ones are which. And
it's kind of odd that they would say that, like, that Wamina and Jayapuras would get mixed up, because unless I'm confused, those aren't terribly close to one another.
Yeah, but I also feel like Jayapura, like, there's the Jayapura province, and then there's like this city of Jayapura. So like, it's a huge area, like a massive, like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of acres of land, and which would normally have maybe 2 or 3 phenotypes within it.
Yeah,
so what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's my thought, is that it's going to have so the biggest fucking issue right now with scrub pythons is that they're all the same fucking species, and they're not all the same species. If you look at a Wamina and look at a sarong, they are not the same species. It looks like the difference between like a Burmese python and an Indian python. You're like, oh, that's kind of like look a little bit the same, but like you can tell that they're different.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're very different. You look at an African rock python and you look at a Burmese python, you go, oh, I could see how they like, yeah, they kind of look a little bit similar, but they're not the same animal. So like right now, Similia amethystina covers the Merauke's, the Southerns, the Oxabills, the sarong, all the barnecks, the Waminas. They're all grouped under amethystina, which is, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. And once they start to break all that stuff down and actually sort them out into species, I think that we're going to see that, oh, the Wamina type, that is the classic Wamina type, is a species. It's found in this area. It's also found in this area. Maybe it overlaps into Jayapura, but it is not a Jayapura barneck. It's not the same thing.
I was right, because Wamina's in like the dead center of Papua, and Jayapura is like north on the coast. So, I mean, we're talking about a very large gap between those two. So how those get mixed up is kind of goofy.
It's probably the export area. Yeah. It's probably the export area where they're like, oh, Jayapura is up by the coast. They've got these animals in the mountains. They brought them over to the coast. They sent them out of Jayapura. They're Jayapuras now. And when in reality, you know, they're not that. So, you know, I'm not an expert in scrub pythons, like all that sort of stuff. I like scrubs a lot. I'm not going to claim to be like some guy who knows everything. Like, I'm not David Means. I'm not Chris Foley. I'm not, you know, any of the other people who are crazy going, you know, having 60 or 70 scrub pythons. I just really like them. They're just like probably my favorite non-venomous snake. And so I've got a few of them. I really like them. I like working with them. If they said, you know, tomorrow you can't breed them, I don't care. I got the ones I want to keep. I'm going to keep them. I just like them. That's the thing that, like, I have a few friends in Florida. They're like, hey, come move down to Florida. You can go field herping all the time. And I'm like, they just banned scrubs. I can't do it. Can't do it. Will not give up my scrub pythons. Won't do it.
Yeah, man. And like the worst for me was originally it was, you know, anything goes. And then they did what's called ROC, which is Reptiles of Concern. And at the time, I had got the ROC permit, and I had put in a friend of mine who bred retics, had brought in an entire shipment from Indo of just scrubs for himself. And he had a bunch of quote unquote barnacks. There was no locality. It was just, they were all barnacks. They were $120 a baby. And I paid him $120 cash. And I paid him cash, and I said, hey, man, I'm not going to be able to come by for like another week. You know, I'll come by Saturday, and I'll grab my snake. He's like, yeah, sure, just come on by whenever. So I came by that Saturday, and he's like, hey, man, I'm really sorry, but I wasn't paying attention. I oversold online of the barnacks. I was like, look, I got this other type of scrub. It's called a Malukan, and they're really, he's like, they're really cool. They're like a purplish red when they're babies. But when they grow up, they turn like yellow. He's like, but I'll be honest, like, I owe you some money because they're a little cheaper. They're only $80. And I was like, all right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I know Andy Milton hates this story. So I went up. So I was like, dude, it's $120, $80, whatever. I was just keep the money. Let me give me your best looking one. I'll take a boy. Because at the time I was like, I don't even know if I really want to get into scrubs like that. I was like, I'll take this one. I'll keep it as a pet. So I had that thing for like 2.5, 3 years, a little longer, and it changed and it looked fucking cool. And out of the blue, it just died. And then like a month later is when they changed the law and banned it. And at the time, I registered it, even though they changed the taxonomy. Excuse me, they changed the subspecies, the species, and all that. And Fish and Wildlife was like, "Yeah, you're okay to keep all that. That's not considered a scrub python, right?"
Yeah. The Lucan python, yeah.
Right. Well, no, but you just can't have anything else, and that was it. And I haven't had a scrub since. So. Yeah,
so I've been into scrub python since I was like really young, like maybe I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was always fascinated with scrub pythons. And but when I first started getting snakes and like building a collection of snakes, I knew that I didn't want to get a scrub python and then have to get rid of it because it got too big or it, bit someone in my family or something like that. So when I was younger and going to reptile expos, I saw scrub pythons for sale for, barnecks for $150, $200, whatever. And I turned them down every single time because I was just like, I just thought of them on like this pedestal where like I didn't want to get one and get my dream animal and then have to get rid of it because I'm moving or I'm doing this or doing that.
And it's also it's a case of I'll get it later. I'll just get it later. They're only $150. I'll just get it later. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that because I knew that they were going to be I didn't know they were going to be this expensive, but I knew that they were going to be more expensive because they're just such a cool snake. I don't know why they were ever that cheap, but that's neither here nor there. But so I would skip over them at shows, not skip over them, but I'd stare at them and be like, one day I'm going to get you. But I would not buy them when I was younger and I was buying a lot of my first bloods and short tails and stuff like that. And I would look at them and I was like, I want one of those, but I don't want to get rid of it. I got to wait for the right one. And then one of the guys that used to work at Nerd, Andy, he was super into scrub pythons. He taught me how to work with reticulated pythons. He taught me how to work with, some of the venomous stuff. He taught me so many different things. He's just like this like legendary dude to me. But he knew that I was into scrub pythons. And so like 6 years ago, he calls me because I was living in Maine. He's like, you need to come down to the shop right now. And because I would come down like once a month and like clean stuff and like hang out and talk snakes and see what the new stuff they hatched out is and all this sort of stuff. But it was kind of out of the blue for him to call me. So he calls me and he's like, hey, you need to come down to Nerd right now. Like right now, drop whatever you're doing right now and come to Nerd. And I was like, dude, I'm working. I can't just like leave. And he's like, tomorrow, whatever you're doing tomorrow, cancel it. Come down to Nerd tomorrow. And I was like, I can't do tomorrow. I'll come on Saturday. It was 2 days later. He's like, get here as soon as you can. Just get here. Okay. Hangs up. So I come down to Nerd. Going through, looking at some reticulated pythons, looking at some ball pythons, looking at bloods and stuff. And then I run into Andy. He's like, did you see them yet? And I was like, see what? He's like, go over to that rack over there on the floor, in the hallway. Look at the bottom 2 rows next to the floor. Look in those tubs. And I was like, what is it? He's like, just look. Just go in there and look. So I go over there, and it's like a little dark in the hallway. I open up the tub. I'm like, man, this snake is really long. I pull it out into the light, and I see the bars across the back of the neck because the babies are still red. And I was like, are these fucking barneck scrub pythons, dude? He's like, we just got a whole clutch of captive bred baby Protoline barnecks, dude. You need to get one. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm walking out with a scrub python today. So I went through and picking through all those scrub pythons, and I was like, I want to get a girl so I can raise it up, and I really want to put the effort into it, and I'm going to get the right one. I picked through all the different ones, went through, sexed them all, get bit, pissed on, all the whole 9. And then it came down to 2 of them because 2 of them were just like super chill, very curious, very inquisitive. And they didn't bite, they didn't pee on me or anything like that. So I'm holding both of them in my hands like this and just like staring at them. And then this one over here struck at this one over here because it like moved too quick. I was like, okay, not that one. I'm taking this one right here. And that's Janet. That's my favorite barneck. And I've had her for 6 years now. And I raised her up from a tiny little noodle, and she's like maybe 11 feet long right now. And anyone who meets her, she's the best scrub python you're ever going to meet in your life. I don't use a hook to take her out. All I do is I open up her enclosure, I take my hat, lay it like this right on the top of her, just gently. As soon as I lay it like that, I can take it, put it back on my head, and scoop her right up. She doesn't bite, she doesn't strike. She's only bit me once in her entire life, and it was 100% my fault. I was walking with her from outside to inside. I was in a dark hallway, and I went to go grab my door handle, and I whacked her in the face because I couldn't see where she was. So she like reached back, boom, hit me real quick. That's the only time she's ever bit me in her entire life. And I've had her for 6 years now. She's the coolest snake, my favorite snake, like hands down the best snake. Like I can hand her off to anybody, and she's amazing. She's great. She's like the best snake ever.
How long have you had the home?
I had the Halmahera for 2.5 years.
And how's that been?
Up and down. They're tough. I had a pair of them, and the female was doing really great, really great, really great. She dumped her water dish, and in 2 days started to develop skin blisters. Skin blisters wouldn't go away, and she just dropped dead. Like maybe 5 days later, like so quick. And it was a bummer because I had her for probably a year before that happened. And so I've had this male. I've been raising him up for 2 years. He's super secretive. I really don't mess with him at all. Like I let him just do his thing. I do not mess with him at all. I don't even take pictures of him because I'm just like, I don't want to mess with him too much.
Yeah.
But he's like maybe 7 feet long, 6 or 7 feet long. I've had him for like 2.5 years now.
Those are my favorites out of the scrubs. It's just so bizarre that they're so much more.
They're unusual. They're definitely unusual. I like them a lot, but I like the Barnacks the most. Just
being more sensitive compared to the other scrubs.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I think that people just don't leave him alone enough, honestly. Because since I started leaving him alone, he's done great. He eats pre-killed or frozen thawed. Kill a rat, leave it in the tub right next to him. He'll eat it overnight. Don't have to mess with him. I pull him out once every week or once every 2 weeks to do cleaning, and I just like put him on a hook, set him down someplace like away from me. I clean the stuff over here, hook him right back into the enclosure, close it back up, and that's where he stays. And he does his thing, and I don't mess with him. So he's cool. I mean, he's really pretty, but I just don't mess with him. Yeah.
Very cool, man. And that's such a good feeling. Like when you're telling the story about getting, she said Janet was her name.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like that's the best feeling. Like like that's yours.
Mm-hmm.
And
I get so many people who are like, I want a Janet baby, and I'm like, you guys got to wait. If I ever produce babies from her, that whole first clutch I'm holding back, I'm just going to keep all of them because it's just so sentimental to me.
Yeah.
And I got a male Pradaline Barnack that I've been trying to breed to her the last couple of years. This past season, she went up to 35 millimeter follicles. I can feel it feels like eggs inside of her.
Wow.
And then no eggs.
Oh.
So I don't know. I'm missing something. I don't know what I'm missing, but I got her right up to the point where she should be ovulating. I can ultrasound. I can see the things inside of her. No eggs. So, well, you live and you learn. Hey, I like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just another reptile guy, just trying my thing.
It's all part of the adventure.
Yeah, I'll figure it out at some point. If I never breed scrubs, I don't care. I don't care. Because once I breed them, then people are going to want to buy them from me, and I don't want to sell them to people. I like them too much. Look at Chuck Poland. He's breeding the Halmaheras, and he's just like hoarding them all. He's got all these nice Halmaheras he's raising up. That's what I'd be doing.
Awesome.
But yeah, very so cool. She got her name. Have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah.
I saw that movie 2 days before I got her, and I had never seen it before.
Really?
But when I was holding her, I was just like, damn it. And I was like, damn it, Janet. Janet's her name. That's it. Mm-hmm. So that's her name.
Very cool, man. Very cool. That's a great name.
I love it.
Good story, man. I love it.
Throws people off because they're like, Janet? What is a Janet? Is that like your friend? And I'm like, no. That's my Leonze. That's my babe. Oh, yeah. That's my number one.
I love it. Oh,
hell yeah. What do you have any scrubs right now? Do you have any scrubs right now?
Me?
Either of you?
No.
Nope.
I had a Tandem bar. Phil gave it to me as a gift. It now resides with Dr. Wyman.
Yeah, Tandem bars are a pain in the butt. I had a Tandem bar and I sold it.
Dude,
they're too flighty.
Dude, he was totally cool with me, man. I don't know what Justin did.
Mine was a psychopath. Piss and like as soon as you touch it with a hook, zing, it just shoots off and then pisses everywhere and turns around and bites you. And I was like, okay, I don't. And like I'm a person who believes that like if you take your time and you're gentle with stuff, you can really win them over because scrubs are so smart. They're so smart, man. Even ones that are like bad, they're smart. You can work with them. You can build trust with them and get them to a point where they're workable. But that Tandem bar, man, that was tough. It was tough to try and rationalize or get it to rationalize what I'm doing and that I'm not there to hurt it and that I'm just being gentle with it and all this stuff. So
yeah, man, I get it. I like that
run
snake
shit
a lot.
fight in that order.
Yeah, no, dude, that snake never bit me. It never shit on me. it would give me a hard time getting them out of the enclosure. But like once I got out of the enclosure, I would literally let it like just wrap around my bicep and just chill. I'd clean its cage, and then I just like hold my bicep like this, and it would just go right in.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
Justin
it was
ruined it.
delirious. Wyman got bit by it, and there was a picture today of it on his banister wrapped around it. And I was like, see?
Wyman, no. Wyman explains to why. Dr. Wyman was walking up his stairs, and it slithered off of him onto the banister, and he let it
turned around.
Well, no, yeah, he let it anchor down, and then it was like, oh, I got a branch now. Look at me, and then he went to go remove it, and it whapped him.
Yeah,
but dude, again, had he not let it do that, he was holding it. Everything was been fine.
I'm not so sure. I'm not
too
convinced.
funny.
I kept it, Phil. I saw what I saw, man.
I know.
I experienced that bastard on a weekly basis with cleaning, and it was always like I'd rather deal with the Jansenite 10 times over than I would that scrub, man.
See, I think maybe you just interacted with him too much because like I
didn't though.
I only cleaned his cage like once a month. He got a rat every like other week, and I would just put it in there. He'd eat it. Life was good. So you messed with him too much.
He's just a pain because once he was anchored onto something,
you can't get him off.
You weren't getting him off. That was his. He owned it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I love scrubs. They're great. They're just so smart. I love that. And it's such a trip because on my podcast I talk about scrub pythons sometimes, and then I'll get people who message me and they're like, "Dude, I listen to you talk about scrub pythons. I'm like, I really want to get one," and I'm like, please don't. Like, do you have any idea what you're getting yourself into? Like, yeah, I'm excited about scrub pythons. I've been keeping snakes for almost 20 years. I've worked with just about every kind of snake, and I think that they're interesting, and I'm going to take the time to understand the mechanics of what's going on in his brain and everything. A lot of people get them because they're like, oh, they're cool, and it's like they're not thinking about what's going on upstairs, and the scrub is always thinking about what's going on upstairs. So, like, I was listening to you guys talking to Christian about the scrubs that he's got and talk about their strike range and everything. Yeah. And you don't like people don't realize like most snakes, they're like, oh, they'll use like maybe a third of their body for a strike range. Scrub pythons use a half of their body and they use every inch of that half. Yep. They don't do half-ass strikes. Like when they strike, they know they can touch you. Most snakes, they just kind of throw a strike out there because they're trying to scare you. Scrubs calculate and they wait
do it with
until
conviction.
they know. Exactly. Yeah. They know that they can touch you. They don't strike unless they are confident that they're going to make contact with something.
Yeah.
I love that. And most people are not ready for that.
They are the most velociraptor-like snake, if that makes any sense, that I ever was around. In terms of like just like the watching and the moving and like the thinking and the I know Phil's sitting there rolling his eyes, but it's true.
Dude, it's so cool.
Yeah. I break your balls about the tannin bar, but yeah, you are 100% correct.
Like even around Jake's, like as soon as you walk in the room, he's sitting there waiting. He's like, I know someone's gonna try.
Something's about to go down. Yep. It's so funny because you talk to people who just keep reticulated pythons and they're like, these are the smartest snakes on the planet, bro. Look at how tough and smart they are. And it's like I watch reticulated pythons all day long chewing on water dishes because they're like, it's the rat. I got it. Oh, no. And then chewing on the side of the enclosure and shit. You never ever see a scrub python doing that ignorant stuff. You go in with a hook and the scrub python goes right up to it but doesn't bite it. They bump it with their nose and they go, oh, this is not the threat. And then they look around and they're like, where is the hand that's holding this hook? Because they know that there's something attached to it that is causing this hook to be here. You put a hook in with a reticulated python there, trying to swallow the damn thing and like chewing up and down it and trying to constrict it. You're like, dude, it's a branch. Why are you trying to constrict a branch? Are you stupid?
Yeah.
That was my first impression with Jake's when he got his initially from David, and it was like as soon as because it got shipped to me because Jake had to work that day or something, and I think
Mhm.
I went over to his house when he got it to set it up and like taking it out the cup. Or no, it was at my house. Like he came and picked it up, and we took it out, and it was immediate. Like it was small. It was a baby, and it was like, "What's up?" Like
Scoping things
right
out.
here,
Yeah.
ready to go, no fear. Like,
Mhm.
and that thing still has zero fear. Like it's bizarre seeing that in a snake where they clearly they're very like the confidence level, I guess.
Confident. They're so confident.
Like they just no, they don't no matter how big or small they are, they're not afraid. They don't care.
King Cobra confidence. People talk about King Cobras as being like this next level. I look at like Kings up here, and then Scrubs are like just below them, like real damn close, real close.
Except that Tannenbar. The Tannenbar would run, and then once
No,
he realized
count.
the jig was up, then he was like, "All right." He's like, "Now I guess I'm gonna have to hurt you."
Yeah, Tannenbars don't count. They're not Scrubs. They're Scrubs, but they're not Scrubs. Come on.
Yeah.
Any of the other Scrubs, you look at them and the way that they interact, and they're just different. They're different than everything else. Like I hear people talk about the popwind pythons, the Apodora, and they're similar like that. And I haven't really worked. I've worked with a few Apodora here, and they're kind of scrub-like. But I've worked with way more Scrubs, and the intelligence I see out of scrub pythons blows everything else.
What about the Bolins? How do those compare to the Barnecks?
Meh. Our Bolins are lazy. Because like a lot of the first Bolins that got imported, they talk about, oh, they'll headbutt you, and they'll like, they won't bite you. They'll like test you to see what you're doing and all this stuff. I've been working with Bolins pythons for almost 10 years now. And almost all the Bolins that I've worked with have been ones that have been raised up from babies. And they're like a carpet python.
They seem very sleepy.
Yeah, they're just like that. They're super sleepy. Pick them up, they just cruise. They don't, I've very rarely. My biggest bite from a snake was from a Bolin's python, but it was a feeding bite. I thought I was feeding it. But in general, they're super sleepy, slow moving. I honestly, I'm not a big Bolin's fan, so I don't know.
You know why? It's because you've actually worked with them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly why. I've worked with them for 10 years now, and I've had to scrape poop off the ceiling of tubs and the ceilings of enclosures and off the sides of things. I'm like, oh, cool, it's a Crebo, but a 8-foot long or 10-foot long python. Sweet, that's my favorite.
I mean, I definitely appreciate it for what they are, and the Riverbank Zoo in Columbia here has a really nice display of like a trio of them, and they're really cool snakes to look at. But I can understand like there's this sort of romanticized idea of them that I feel like
I want everyone else to do them, like, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want everybody else to enjoy them, so I don't have to.
Yeah, like I feel
I want everybody else to buy them.
Me personally, if you took the price tag away, I think they're amazing animals, but that's the snake to me that like somebody else has them, and I just go play with theirs. You know what I'm saying? So,
yep. You never have to clean the tank. That's the best part.
Yeah. I got enough poo in the ceiling as it is. I don't need more.
Yeah. For real. For real.
Vic wants to know if you've ever done anything with ring pythons.
No. Bothrochilus? No, I have not. We had some at Nerd very briefly. We sold them like immediately, which was like, I still lament having to do that, but it is what it is.
Everyone I've talked to that's dealt with them.
They're like, they're shitty.
Yeah, for any amount of time, they're horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're pretty, but that's about where the buck stops. It's like Casey Cannon's talked about it. He's like, they're cool and all, but he's like, I freaking hate them. They suck.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it's just people coming at them with a different mentality, because like when I talk to people who hate scrub pythons, a lot of them are like, well, I would like grab it out of the enclosure and it would just light me up the whole time, and then it would piss all over me and it hated me. And I'm like, yeah, if you treat them like that, they're gonna treat you like that. And they're not going to trust you, and they're going to bite you. In a
threatening manner, they're going to feel threatened,
Yeah, yeah. And they're not a snake that you can do that with. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see if people took like a little bit of time and like really, worked with them from a young age and got them. Like I know some people who are very gentle handlers, and they still say that theirs are crappy. Like not crappy, but they bite and they're.
I think they're naturally going to be. They're like Amazons. They're naturally going to be a little more high strung than sort of your average whatever.
Which is
it's to be. There's a level of it to be expected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay with Amazons because you can hook an Amazon like on one hook and it's not too heavy to lift up. But like an adult ring python, even on 2 hooks is going to be pretty heavy. So like you can't really just, you got to figure something out at that point.
And I've found that to be the case with the Jansenii too. If you're slow and you're a little more gentle with them, they're much easier to move around and work with than if you just go in there guns blazing, trying to yank them out of the the core tube, and then that's when they get squirrely. But it's almost like the hurt locker. If you're slow and methodical, you don't have to worry about it exploding.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Hell yeah.
And those, the Gonyosoma are pretty high strung to begin with. So, it's one of those things where I think that's to make life easier. Slow down.
Yeah, we got some Jansenii here, and then we just got some baby Jansenii in. So, and then we got a variety of other weird colubrids going on right now.
So speaking of weird colubrids, can we ask about the divergence? What's going on?
Absolutely. What do you want to know?
So you produced all these amazing babies. Are you guys holding them all back, or did some get sold to private individuals, or what?
The babies that we produced, we held all of them back. Okay. Main reason being is that our females are murderers and ate 3 males.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so we held back
crazy.
all the babies that we produced. We had issues with the first clutch of eggs with it being the eggshells being too thick, where the babies were not able to slice through. Thick. Yeah, we figured out a way to mitigate for that and to incubate better so that we get better, because we saw it in the divergens and the melanota that we produced here. Issues with both of them with the thick eggshells. But we found a different way of incubating them now that allows them to hatch out much easier. And the last 2 clutches.
Do you notice they hatch out of the top of the egg rather than like the side, like they come out like one of the ends?
Yeah, usually, yeah. Hey, a little bit, yeah. It depends on the individual ones. The divergens, they just cut wherever. They didn't really give a shit. But the melanota, we definitely noticed a lot on the ends. Seems like they cut right on the
Cyanea a lot. The 2 clutches I hatched of those, it was very common for them to be coming out of the end.
So now, what caused that hardened egg? Is that a captive thing, or is that how it is in the wild, or what? No idea.
I think they're just naturally super hard, thick shelled, because the Cyanea eggs were unbelievably thick, given how small the eggs are and stuff. I think it also has to do with the humidity levels,
because now basically what we're doing is hatch right in a box, dig out a trough, bury the eggs a little bit, and then do a big thing of damp sphagnum moss on top of them, and then incubate at that like 83 to 85 degrees. Okay. And the last 2 clutches that have hatched out with our partner who's working with us has been 100% hatch rate.
Nice.
And we haven't had any issues with those eggs hatching out. So the Boiga stuff is, Kevin's got a few adult of the divergens. We're raising up a few more. We got some imported from Europe last year that we brought in to sell. We sold them basically right away. I know everyone wants those divergens, so people are going crazy with them. And then we got the albino melanota. He's been breeding, and then Kevin bred him to the divergens twice. So we got some babies from that cross that we're raising up. They don't look anything like divergens. They look like melanota.
Yeah, they don't. They look like a reduced pattern sort of melanota.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Not what we expected, or not what Kevin expected, really.
Let me ask this: when the divergens ate each other, was that because of a size difference, or is that indicative of the species, or what?
One of the males was the same fucking size as the female. She swallowed him, and then a day later puked him back up.
It's been documented in Cyanea, but I never had any issues with it.
But we've had, this is like the year 2020 was the year of stupid things eating things. Our black-headed python female ate the male. The divergens, the female ate 2 males 2020. You know, we had one of our big female monitors try to eat one of our smaller male monitors. Like,
Ooh.
So, like, on those, are you keeping them together, or is it just during the pairing process, or what?
during pairing, but we pair them for a week. You know, a week
Okay.
on, a week off, stuff like that. It depends. Like now, we've been a lot more careful, so we'll throw them in overnight and then take them right out. You know, the next day, just to be on the safe side, because you know it's not worth the risk, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And yeah. So yeah, we got a bunch of different stuff going on with the Boiga project stuff. The divergents have been put on hold because of all that bullshit with the females. We got 2 males that are just getting close to breeding size now, so we'll be back to breeding pure divergents again. Probably
Yeah,
this next
y'all
season.
upset a lot of people in the Boiga groups with.
Listen, here's the deal. I hate hybrids. I had nothing to do with that. The only reason you guys even knew that they were hybrids is because I make the social media posts. Because otherwise, it would have just been, these are het albinos.
I was in the Boiga group, and I remember someone posted the picture of like that albino male and the divergents curled up together, and all the European guys were losing their minds.
I have nothing to do with it. Nerd is known for hybrids. Kevin has been doing hybrids for 25 years. I'm not a hybrid person. I hate hybrids, so I don't have anything to do with any of those projects. But I do report on whatever we produce. So if it's a hybrid and I post the picture of it, it's going to be labeled as a hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with hybrids as long as people say that that's what it is, you know? So
I hate them. I want to feed them to the king cobras. When I see them hatch out, I'm like, right into the king cobras. What are we doing with these? Get them out of here.
Oh, man. So are you guys going to try and breed kings?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have 7 king cobras here.
That's what I'm saying, though. But have you bred them before or no?
We tried to breed them 2 years ago. We had a female that our venomous guy had bought as a juvenile and raised up. And then I want to see, I can't remember exactly what happened. It was either that I think that she ovulated and then passed away right after she ovulated.
Okay.
Don't know what ended up happening with that. But we've got 3 females and Lilith that we're raising up, and then we have 4 males, including the het leucistic male.
Cool. And are you guys going to try and do the nest thing or no?
The what?
You guys going to try and do the nest thing or no?
Yeah. Okay. We have an entire room that's basically built like the inside of a cave. So we were talking about sealing that room when she's getting ready to nest, filling it with leaf litter, trying to allow her to nest and do it like that. Because right now our biggest female's in a 8x3x2 enclosure. Lilith, she's an 8x3x2, and you know, being able to build a nest in that area probably would be pretty tough. So
yeah, it would be real tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's awesome, man. I hope you guys document her building it because that would be stupendous.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bronx Zoo did a couple pairings and they had some success and they pulled clutches and stuff, but I know they also had a bunch of moms eat dads, which like I hate to say, like it's to be expected, but however they did the room, the one pictures I saw, the room was only like 6 by 6. It was like 6 wide by 6 tall, but it was like 12 deep, if that makes any sense. And the nest was just the entire room. It was just like it was like a 3 foot tall thing, but they didn't document her doing it, and
building it.
Yeah, and I think like if you guys have the space, you guys have the knowledge base, you guys have the animals to do it. Like I would love for you guys to like stick a couple cameras in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and record.
Yeah, especially when we've got night vision cameras, we've got GoPros, we got all that stuff. So I'm sure that when we get to that point, it will be something that they do. The room is big enough where we can literally set up GoPros in every corner and have full coverage of the entire room. It'll just be a matter of making sure that everything in the room is sealed, making sure that we have a way to access the room safely without having to worry about opening the door to a king cobra.
Yeah,
and doing stuff like that. So
cool, man. That's awesome. And then what else in that venomous room you just have with all those new cages? What else is in there that you guys keep for like you guys?
So That room is those enclosures just got here a week ago. We haven't even finished setting them up yet. So we only moved in like 5 animals. We moved in 3 gaboons and I think 2 of the king cobras. So we really haven't moved in most of our stuff. We've got a lot of venomous snakes here. We just don't really record a lot of video with them.
Okay.
So we've got probably 30 or 40 timber rattlesnakes. We've got prairie rattlesnakes. We've got red Carolina pygmy rattlesnakes. We've got the dusky pygmy rattlesnakes. We got Arizona blacktail rattlesnakes. We've got albino atrox. We've got Trans-Pecos copperheads. We got broad-banded copperheads. We got southern copperheads. We've got red spitting cobras. We have black and white spitting cobras. We have king cobras. We have rhino vipers, gaboon vipers. We have puff adders. We have Trimacerus insularis. We have the flat nose, the arboreal flat nose viper. I can't think of the
Panesius.
Yeah, we got those ones. We've got Atheris chlorechis.
Yeah.
What else? I'm gonna forget things. We got probably 70 individual venomous snakes. Of 20 to 30 species roughly. We have Lepidus. We've got I'm forgetting stuff. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So a lot of that stuff is going to be on display down here. We're waiting on 6-foot enclosures and a couple bigger enclosures for kings to come so we can put some big kings on display downstairs. But we're planning on doing those enclosures, the ones that you guys saw earlier, with most of the stuff that we've got available, or not available, but the stuff that we have right now. And then along the top of those enclosures, we're going to be doing wagglers and schlegeli and, subannulatus and all that sort of stuff. So.
Cool, man. Very cool. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be awesome.
Me too, man. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about changing our venomous room for 5 years. So being able to have a bigger, safer space to work with the animals and to be able to record videos and show them off a little bit better, have a space where the public can come in and see a gaboon viper on display or see a king cobra on display is pretty cool. We're the only place in New England that has got exotic venomous snakes on display.
That's awesome. It's crazy, man. Like, I know myself and a couple of my reptile colleagues, and like we take a lot of stuff for granted. I've kept gaboons for as long as I've kept snakes. So like, I don't think like that. But when you say like, not even the zoos have them by you, like that's a big deal, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. There's no place you can go in New England and see venomous snakes on display besides the Museum of Science, I think, because currently all of our zoos around here they don't have any venomous snakes. At least to my knowledge, the last several times that I've been to the zoos and looked at the reptile houses, nobody's got venomous snakes. They got like a retic, and they're like, "Woo, spicy!" A Kenyan sambo and an anaconda, and they think that they've got the coolest things on the block.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good shit, man.
Yeah,
So,
I can't wait so people can see more stuff because education is the biggest thing when it comes to all this.
Yeah, man. Of course, we gotta sculpt the next generation, and the generation after that. So that when the 3 of us are crotchety old men, we can know.
We're already there.
Yeah, we are already there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, I did a tour yesterday for a 10-year-old girl who she doesn't have any snakes yet, but she's in love with reptiles. She watches Emily from Snake Discovery. She's like, I want to get a bull snake as my first snake. I really, really want to get a Pituophis. And she's looking at the ball python. I like these ball pythons and corn snakes and the oketees and the palmettos and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, how old are you again? She's like, I'm like 10 years old. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, that's crazy. That's the next generation. And last week I had a
Pituophis, man.
Literally, we don't even have any in the building. I couldn't even show her the one, so I was just like so bummed. I was like, man. But she watches all Emily's videos and all that sort of stuff. And then last week I had a girl who's like maybe 6 or 7 years old. She brought her stuffed Komodo dragon, and she's like, I love Komodo dragons. They're my favorite. So she's looking at the water monitors, petting a big albino water monitor, and looking at the croc monitors. And she's just in love with all the giant lizards and stuff. And she's like 7 years old. She's just like in love with them. So like getting to see all these, the next generation of kids coming in and they're just like in love with reptiles.
Doesn't that get you pumped about the stuff that you get to, like, even the simple stuff that we see on a daily basis or that's super common in the hobby, like just
100%.
that sort of enthusiasm and stuff for something that we would consider simple and sort of common, just you can't help but get a little contagious to a degree.
And that's like we were talking about it, I think last show or show before about, when we were vending Daytona, we had those QR code business cards.
Yeah.
And like every kid that came by the table, they were all under the age of 12.
Stickers and cards.
Stickers and here's a sticker, here's a gummy bracelet, and here's a card. You see this QR code? Have your mom and dad scan this, and you can read all these magazines for free. And the kid's like, that's it. That's what it's about.
Hell yeah. That is what it's about. That's what it's all about. Doesn't get better than that.
Doesn't get better than that. So what do you personally want to do on the horizon? You got like things for the future that like species you want to get or projects you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's always more stuff that I want to do. I would like to, honestly, what I want to do is I want to upgrade all my scrub enclosures. I want to get bigger enclosures for all my scrubs and upgrade my rack systems for my short tails and do a lot of upgrading as far as that stuff goes. I would love to get some Moluccan scrubs at some point. I want to get some palmetto corn snakes just because I think that they're cool. And when I do educational programs, they make for a really cool snake to bring out.
Oh, yeah.
You bring out an Okati and people are like, wow, that's pretty. And I'm like, yeah, now look at Funfetti over here. And then people lose their mind. And everyone thinks it's the coolest thing ever. So I want to get a palmetto corn. I really want to get some Moluccan scrubs. I would like to get a couple more bar necks just because I love them. And venomous stuff. I would love to be able to own venomous on my own, like do my own little thing. I really love rhino vipers. I would like to have my own little collection of rhino vipers. And like the Molossus, the Crotalus molossus, Willardi. I would love to get some of those. Lepidus, I like those too. And if I can get them in the United States, Fees vipers, Ezemiopsea.
Yeah, man.
Those are the dream.
Remember the
Mike
first
Vessio's
time I
got
saw
them.
those. Yeah, it was in that Reptiles All Venomous issue at one point. They had an article on them, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
It's purple and orange, and it's got a
cool.
bright head. Yeah, those are like hands down probably my favorite snake. I'm so in love with those things. They're so cool. So if I could get some of those, that would be really cool. Hardly ever imported into the U.S. and they always come in dehydrated and all this, that, and the other thing. So
I'm sure
I would like to work with some venomous stuff at some point, but honestly, I've got a lot of the stuff that I want.
Cool.
Working, being as connected as I am in the hobby with the different people that I am, I am able to get a lot of the stuff that I want to get. And, there's some people who are just like, I need more and more and more and more. After working at a place that's got 7,000 or 10,000 reptiles in it, I just want to have a nice little reptile room where I can just watch stuff and just enjoy it.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Where it's at.
Well, we're almost at the witching hour. Where can people find you?
If you want to see the stuff that I'm doing personally,
exactly.
If you're not following me already, check me out on Instagram at RobIsCreepingItReal because I'm creeping it real. Yeah, that's mostly just my animals on there. Like I said, I post nerd stuff sometimes. I always tag nerd if I post anything that's theirs. So if you're ever questioning whether or not it's mine or nerds, if you see the New England Reptile tag, it's nerds. If it's not tagged New England Reptile, it's mine, like my personal stuff. I generally prefer to keep it a little bit separate. There's a lot of people who just like, I'm just going to just post all the rare shit that everybody else has got and not any of my own things. I'd rather just post my own stuff. And that's the thing, like Jeremy was talking about the other day with Will. Rob, you don't post enough stuff on Instagram. And I'm like, I only post stuff when I want to. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm a YouTube creator guy. Like when I'm on camera, I can be like that, but I just post what I like. And so on my YouTube channel, I post stuff that I find interesting. On my Instagram, I post stuff that I find interesting. And if it's not something that's motivating me to post it, I don't post it. So, check out my Instagram, Rob is Creeping It Real. I'm on TikTok. I know, right? What could you imagine? I'm on TikTok, Rob is Creeping It Real. Don't add me on Facebook, please. I got too many freaking people on Facebook. I'm nearing that 5,000 friend cap, and I don't really want to hit it. So don't add me on Facebook. But Instagram's the best place.
I just
Check it
went
out.
through and purged my friends list the other day. Like I start
I
seeing
gotta
people.
do that.
I'm like, I don't even remember adding you, and I never talked to you.
Mhm.
And I just it's nothing. It's just like I don't know. I'm a little more picky about who I add. You know, but Facebook sort of blinded society with the whole like friends term. You know, and it's like if you unfriend someone on Facebook, that's somehow like a slight against them. It's like I just
Yeah. Stupid. Yeah,
It's a very
I know that
odd
I personally
time.
know about 1,000 of my friends. At least 1,000 of the people that I'm friends with on Facebook, I know in person. At least. But I do have like 4,000 something friends on there, so like it's only a quarter of the people on my friends list that I actually know in person. So, you know, I post things publicly sometimes on there. Most of the time, I just post stuff for my friends that are on there. So I try and network a little bit, but I'm over it, man. If people want to find me on Instagram, find me on Instagram. Eventually I'll have stuff on Morph Market. I guess if I'm going to sell some of my babies I produced this year, I'll sell some stuff on Morph Market. I have a YouTube channel. I think it's Rob is Creeping It Real. It's either Creeping It Real with Rob or Rob is Creeping It Real. Look up Rob and Creeping It Real. You'll find me. It's there. I'm there.
Love it.
And check out Reptile Talk, and then check out New England Reptile. So at New England Reptile on Instagram, and then at reptile.talk. Check out our podcast, and then check out Nerd. And if you guys got questions, shoot me a message on Instagram. Don't message me on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook app or Facebook Messenger, so message me on Instagram. I answer messages on Instagram. So if you have a burning question, if I didn't answer your question, if you're going, why did you guys breed this thing? You can message me, and I'll tell you, I don't know. Kevin wanted to breed it, so he bred it, and that's what we did. So
Nice. Awesome, man.
This is what it is.
Well, dude, I'm glad we got you on, man. It was a long time coming.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I got to have you guys on Reptile Talks.
Yeah.
I want to do individual episodes and then maybe a group episode. Group episodes get hectic, but I definitely want to get you guys on individually so we can talk reptiles, man. Talk reptiles, have some fun.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I found the more people in the room, the less gets covered. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially because I go off on these tangents where I just talk for 10 minutes and then I'm like, oh shit, there's other people here.
Yeah,
Reptile
just move
Keeper.
quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reptile Keeper means departure from conversation.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly what that means. Especially I'm ADHD like off the charts, so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It's not squirrel, it's snake, right?
Yep. Snake. Yeah.
Snake.
Hell yeah.
Dude,
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Later.
Well, Smitty, any closing remarks?
Nope. I went to Dollar Tree today. Loaded up on a bunch of containers. People need to stop sleeping on Dollar General and Dollar Tree, man. If you need water bowls and stuff and like little feeding containers, whatever.
Do you have one to show us?
I don't at the moment, but like I had to get some there's perfect size water bowls like for the 6-quart tubs, and then there's some perfect size little sauce cups that work really well for humid hides for all the smaller stuff. It's just like you go to Dollar Tree, man, and there's not a size there that doesn't fit something that you need it for. Like they got everything. It's perfect. So
yeah, dude. Good shit.
That's all. I love Dollar Tree.
That and Walmart $5 ferns.
Yeah.
I saw Jake set up the what the hell? One of the corns.
Seminoles is yellow rats.
Seminoles? Oh, yellow rats. Okay, and he had all the Walmart $5 ferns, and I was like, I know those plants.
Worth their weight in gold.
They are.
I'm staring at some right now behind my computer.
Nice, excellent.
Not
just for home decor.
That's right.
All right. Well, it's a good show, gentlemen.
It was.
Good show.
We will see everyone later. Episode 134 of THP is happening Thursday. Have no idea who we're having on, but it will be there. So
cool. Thanks again, guys.
See ya.
Bye.